Good evening. Welcome to Fate Mag Radio, the online voice of Fate Magazine. I'm Kat Hobson, your host, and I'm so glad that you're watching tonight's show because it's going to be so fun. I do want to say a couple of things because it matters. I live in a tornado-prone region, and I get how fast they show up. I get how strong they can be. And I also get when people are trying to find out if they have anything left and they're trying to figure out where they're going to sleep that night. With the tornadoes that hit last night and the ones that are threatening today, and trust me, if they're happening there, they're going to wind up here. People are going to be in some pretty interesting times. And after the hurricanes and everything else that's been going on, then it's a weird weather time. And so, if you could just keep those people in your thoughts and pray for them, the ones that haven't faced the storms yet to be safe, the ones that have to have healing, whether emotional or physical, it's a really big deal. And also, I wanted to let people know that we are working to be broadcasting this live on Fate Magazine Radio, Fate Mag's page. And I am really so appreciative. A young man named Stevie Tombstone, who's a musician, does our Fate website. And he lost his family's home. Um, and he was in the hurricanes that, Helene specifically, they lost their generational home. It was on a river. It's really hard to talk about that because so many people, guys, so many people, and it's nowhere near over. Um, but he is working on trying to get this connected with the StreamYard, and it's going to work. So it may be next week, but I tell you what, we have a new edition coming out of Fate Magazine. Go to fatemag.com and you can subscribe. You can see pretty soon you'll be able to watch the shows there. And I am just so appreciative of the opportunity to host this show and appreciative of Phyllis Gaudy, who was in that storm too. And she and her goats and chickens are okay. But please keep praying for those people. I mean, that's not supposed to happen, and yet it did. And it almost did twice. And they had to go over my daughter to get there. So let's just keep everything in perspective when we've got all this political stuff going on, and it's kind of scary, right? Because there's so much just discord, and no matter what, we're Americans, and we need to remember that too. That's about as political as I get. So, that being said, I just want you to know that tonight's guest is someone I admire so much. He has been on so many paranormal shows. I I am always appreciative of him. He is actually teaching paranormal classes, and we're going to talk about that some too. He has been a part of Spirits of New England for, we'll let him say how long. It's forever. And he has his own group, Rensselaer Paranormal, Rensselaer Paranormal Research. He is actually considered to be one of the best paranormal investigators there are. He has been on Haunted Case Files. He's been on Paranormal Survivor. He's series lead there. And he has also been on numerous episodes of Haunted Hospitals. Y'all will remember Mikey Thompson, who was on with us, whose experience was shared there. And we're just going to talk a little bit about all the things that he does because he is somebody that I consider a dear friend. So, Jack Kenna, welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
Sorry, I turned my mic off for a second.
You just didn't want to talk to me. Just put it to me like it is, man.
Yeah, I didn't want to talk until I was supposed to. Then I'm like, oops, I forgot to turn that on. Thanks for having me on the show, Kat. Yeah, we've been good friends for quite a while. Yeah, we got another good friend too with Rick Cullen.
We do. And by the way, Kenna.
Yeah.
He said I had to say that to you.
Yeah. Funny thing is, one of the well, she's actually on my paranormal team too. But one of the people on my classes, she talks to Rick a lot. She goes, she came into class the other night. She goes, "Oh, by the way, Rick said to say, Kenna." He does that every time I talk to him on the phone. Kenna,
I know, right?
you
Or
call.
sees you in person. It's pretty funny when y'all are in the same
I
room.
got to give him a call. I haven't talked to him in a long time, so
Yeah.
I got to reach out to him. How's he?
Oh,
How's he? Oh, before we get into me, how's he been doing?
he
I
does all
haven't
right for
spoken
an
to him in
old
a
guy,
while.
man. He's all right. No,
And for an old guy, yeah.
we
Geez,
spent
he looks. I think sometimes I think he's younger than me.
well, the spirit certainly is, and let me tell you, I have trouble keeping up with him. And
Yeah.
we spent about 3 weeks over in Scotland in June.
Oh, that's right
So,
too. Yeah, yeah.
so he was he was good.
That's
He
good.
had
That's
an
good. He's a good. He's
incredible
a really good
experience
guy.
there. Yeah.
And now I don't know if he ever told you. I don't know if I ever told you. Um, I sent him. I had to go through for one of the haunted. I think it was one of the haunted case file shows, or maybe it was paranormal. So I can't remember which one. Anyways, I had to go through some audio to send them for the story that they were going to be doing, right? The
Right.
case they were going to be covering, and so I had to go back through some of the audio, and this took place a year before I even knew Rick, before I even met him, and so I'm going back through the audio now. At this point, I know Rick, right? But
Right.
a year earlier, I had done this investigation. And I'm going through it, and I come across we were doing just a spirit box session, so I'm listening back to that audio because I knew there was something on there. I heard my name called, my actual given name, which is John, right?
Right.
A lot of people don't know that, but my given name is John. Everybody calls me Jack, but anyway, um, so I hear that, and then after that, I hear Rick McCullum.
Where were you?
It was in Connecticut. I'm
Okay.
pretty sure I do know it was a demonic haunting. It wasn't like a possession or anything, but the
Right.
person was under oppression. But there's a lot of strange stuff that goes in this part of Connecticut. It was on this part of Connecticut. Really weird stuff. So I think that something's there that's always been there in that
Right.
region. But anyways, that's my thought on that. But so anyways, I hear it and I send it to Rick. I say, "Hey Rick, listen to this EVP. Tell me what it says." He goes, he raised back, "That's my effing name." I said, "Yeah." He goes, "When did you capture that?" I said, "A year before I knew you." He's
Whoa.
like, "What?" I said, "Well, that's how these things work. They'll give you information, right? It's preternatural information. They don't, you don't know it. You haven't even met somebody yet, and they're already telling me this person's name, which I wouldn't really recognize at the time, right? Because what the hell, what's that?
Well,
What's
no,
that?
because that's so.
Because I don't know the person, right? Yet.
But
And
y'all,
that's the thing. And then a year later, I met him at
well,
Boston Central, or was it Buffalo Central Terminal?
he
That's
loved
the first time I
there.
met him. Yeah, yeah,
He loved that
yeah.
investigation.
That was awesome. Yeah, that was a great place. But yeah, so that's a story that actually happened, and it's like, how did I said it's something demonic, Rick? That's how it knew. It's kind of telling me ahead of time, Although I don't recognize it, I knew there was a name. I'm like, what the
Right.
hell is that? But when I
I've
went back to
never
listen
had
to it
that
for the
happen.
show, I'm like, holy crap, that's Rick's name. Holy shit. His full name, Rick McCollum.
That
And
is
you can
so
hear it.
bizarre.
Yeah, that's why
But
I sent it to him. Am I just hearing what I think I hear? Or that's why I sent it to him. What's this say? He goes, that's my name.
you
So
know,
that's what I knew for sure. Is like, okay, it said what I thought it said. All right.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
freaked him out a little
sometimes we
bit, I think.
think we're hearing something that
Right.
may not. Yeah.
Right. That's why you want to have somebody else listen to it, right? But what a better person to have listened to it than Rick,
The
because it's
one who's
insane.
going to recognize that name. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So it freaked him out a little bit. Freaked me out a little bit actually. It's like, wow, that really. Now I know for sure it really was a demonic case. So
That's really
uh,
interesting. I mean, really interesting because I don't think I've heard of that happening in a location maybe where somebody grew up or
right.
but never someplace that someone had not even been associated with.
Yeah, I mean they were there was a daughter and no, her son and his girlfriend of friends of mine. But it wasn't at like their house. It was at their apartment. They had just got gotten. And like I said, it was a year before I met Rick. So it's like, what the hell? You know, really
Definitely.
weird. We were able to help him at least anyway,
Yeah.
in the case. But yeah,
Well,
just
if they
very
knew
strange.
Rick, they, if they
Yeah,
knew
and
Rick, they couldn't have been thinking that.
why of all people, right? You know,
Yeah.
but you know, but literally, like a year later, I met Rick. You know, or maybe it was 8 months later, something like that. But it was after that case.
That's just crazy.
Yeah, yeah. That's the weird stuff we get into, right? When we start investigating and doing cases and stuff. So this
Well,
is some
it's
of the stuff I teach my students. You
what
know,
is that the strangest thing that you've had of that nature?
it's strange. Yeah, I would say that to me, that's really strange because that's probably the strangest because it was I hadn't met the person,
Right.
so I really didn't give any thought to it when I first listened to it. I was more interested in that it said my given name,
Yes.
and I heard a name after. I was like, I don't. Nobody
I
knew
don't know
who
that
that
guy.
was. Well, I played it for the family. They didn't recognize it. Why would they, right?
Right.
But I didn't know. I said, it's just somebody like, no, 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 until then. And then even then, after I met Rick, I didn't think about it at the time. It wasn't until I was reviewing that evidence for the show. So that was going to go on the show. I was like, holy cow,
That's just
you know.
crazy.
So so yeah, my students I think have to believe this stuff when I show it, go over it with them, and then till they really start to realize, you know, doing an investigation on their own and stuff, and the weird stuff that can happen. So it's like, yeah, so you didn't know, until you
That's
experience it, you just don't really believe it. So,
well. How long have you been involved in the paranormal?
well, I guess really all my life, but as with a team, it wasn't until when did I join? When was I joined, or when did Spirits of New England bring me in? I became part of them. I think it's 2009. I think it was in 2009.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's towards the end of 2009. I mean, I met him earlier. I met him online originally.
Hmm.
That was when Taps was running the Beyond Reality forum.
Yeah.
All right, and we all met through that forum, and then I met him at an event up in New Hampshire um, that Taps was doing, and Jason Grant and those guys. Um, and then while we were up there, we spent a whole weekend up there. They asked me to be part of the team, and so I said, yeah, I'd like to. I said, let's try it out and see how it works out. I said, once you get to know me, you can decide for yourself if you want me on your team or not, right?
Sure.
It's one thing to talk to people online and stuff like that. It's another one to interact with them. So, we just hit it off. We went on it. They brought me on a couple investigations, and we did an event together, which I ended up running. So they're like, well, they had never really done one, and I'm
Right.
like, they're like, Jack, you do stuff with work, right? You run projects or manage. I said, yeah,
Knew where that's going.
it's not my team though. No, I trust you. I trust you. So I organized it for them, and it went really well. So
Yeah.
everybody has different skills, right? And
That's well.
that's what I tell my
Yeah.
students to, because I teach them how to build a team. That's in the
Hmm.
101 class, building a team, and what the team leader should be like. And the team leader is not always the person who founded the team. It doesn't have to be,
Yes.
right? You get rid of your ego, drop the ego, and if you're team founder but you're not good at organizing things, have the person who is do that part.
You know,
Don't
that's
take
one of the
offense to it.
downfalls for teams, though, is that
Yeah,
ego is very hard to let go of. I don't
yeah,
care what scenario you're in, ego
yeah.
is very difficult.
That's why I tell them you want a team leader that doesn't have much of an ego.
Yeah.
Right. But they do, they will listen to everybody, and they will, you know, make decisions when they need to,
Hmm.
you know. But as if you're the team leader, not team founder, you still have to have respect that it's a team founder's team.
Yes.
So you want to coordinate with them of how they want things done. You know.
Diplomacy
Yeah,
is
yeah,
always important.
right. It's a bit of politics, but it's just common courtesy too. It's somebody else's thing they put together. You
Yeah.
don't want to step on their toes and just start running it, but you've got to. work with them to say, okay, how do you want to manage things, and here's how I plan to manage things for you, right? It's like being an owner and you hire a manager, right?
Exactly.
You know,
That's
the
exactly
manager's
it.
got to follow what the owner wants.
Yeah.
So you got to work together, and a good CEO or a good owner should be willing to listen to the ideas of who they've hired to manage,
Hmm.
because that's the person who's down on the ground actually seeing how things are working between the whole team, right?
Hmm.
And so they've got to listen to them too and say, well, what you want to do, we tried it, doesn't seem to be working. What about doing this? You know, and and that's again, the team founder has to have a little bit less of an ego to say, yeah, okay, maybe I wasn't right about that. Let's try this.
Yeah.
But that doesn't happen very much, as you know. Too many ego.
Or ever really.
Yeah,
Except, you
I
know,
wouldn't say ever. I mean, there's
well, I mean,
people.
I get that, but my husband owns a business,
Yeah, yeah,
and it's a very different type of business because that's not
yeah.
something that would come up.
Right,
But
right,
it's just where he has employees and they're
right,
good employees,
right.
but not everybody gets a say in that scenario.
No, not. I
But
mean, not
it's just kind of
everybody.
like,
Yeah,
you
not
know,
everybody should necessarily either. But
well,
if
yeah, but
if you're an owner and you've hired somebody to manage the place for you, you may want to.
specifically, you
Yeah, you
have
may
to
want to at
listen.
least listen to that person of what the feedback of what he's giving you of what's going on in the business. You
Yeah,
know, as far as the employees and stuff go. And you can take it, you can take it or leave it, but at least you listen to it, right? I mean,
yeah,
it's like everything else, you listen to it and then decide for yourself if it's right then for the direction you want to go or not, right? So, but yeah, you gotta paranormal stuff. It's not a business. Well, to some people, I guess it is.
well,
But
there's a lot of emotion that gets tied to that somehow, and I don't
it's
know if it's
ownership. It's just owners, strictly ownership. It's like
it
it's
is.
mine. It's like kids with toys, right? It's mine.
It's very
You
much like,
can't touch it
yeah, it's
unless I
very
say so.
much like
Yeah.
like kids with toys.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's
So,
like you can play with my toy, but the way I tell you to,
mhm. And
right?
don't you
Something like
dare
that.
shift that toy over to that side without me having specific. Yeah, I have.
Yeah, yeah, you got
I
it. You
have.
got it. It gets really weird. So I teach them this, and I'm like, look, pick the people who might be best for that position. Okay, and more, and some people can do more than one thing, and that's okay. And if somebody wants to, like, there's different positions. You have a team founder, you have a team leader. They might be the same person, they might not. You got equipment managers. You've got maybe somebody who feels they're sensitive or psychic, and then you've got everybody else who helps out and investigates and stuff like that. But if somebody wants to try a position, like let's say they want to do the client contact stuff, right? They want to do that part, right? Let them try it. See if they're any good at it. Maybe they
Yeah,
are, and if they're not, you say, hey, this really isn't your fit. And you got to be willing to
I
do that
do
in a
know.
nice way. It's like, it doesn't seem you don't seem to be working out quite right because how you'll tell is there'll
Because
be
you keep going
hesitant
to
to
the houses of
contact.
people that are bat crap crazy.
Well,
Or
no, there'll be a
I'm
lot of
kidding,
yeah, no, no,
but
yeah,
there,
yeah,
that
yeah.
does
Well, you could get
happen.
that too, yeah,
You
but
have to have discernment
what I
to work
usually
with
notice
people.
is those people are very hesitant to contact the clients.
Really?
Yeah, they're afraid to talk to them on the phone. It's because and how you tell that is, well, did you contact them yet? Ever since they emailed us? Well, no, I didn't get around to it yet. Well, they sent us a form because we have a form that people have to fill out, and if they fill it out, then we call them, right? Usually
Right.
within 24 to 48 hours. So it's like, well, wait, it's been over 2 days. Why haven't you called them yet? How we rule, right? 24 to 48 hours. Well, I just been kind of, and then they'll finally admit it to you. I'm hesitant to. All right, well, you either got to get over that, or it's not the right fit for you. Because
Yeah.
you need somebody who likes to interact with people, right?
Well,
Somebody
you
who can
need
get
some,
people to talk, right,
and
and tell
you
them more.
need. It helps if you have a sensitive do that also.
Yeah, it can. You may not have a sensitive on the team though. You know,
Well,
and you may
true.
not
But
have
if you
anybody on the team
do,
who feels they're sensitive, right?
but if you do, that's such a better fit because I would, when I was on a team, I would get, here, would you contact this person?
Yeah,
And I would, and there was so obviously an issue that was not just paranormal,
right.
okay?
Always is.
And
It's true.
and I would be trying to get the information,
Yeah.
and this person, in this particular case, this person was like not having anything other than we were going to be on their doorstep at 6 o'clock that evening.
Hmm.
And I said, well, we don't operate that way, but you know, we will come as a group,
Yeah.
and I will have this person get back in touch with you. I'm just kind of like reconnaissance. I'm getting the information so that we can have a full understanding of your case.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
And oh my goodness, I was everything but a nice person,
Yeah.
right? But she was having some emotional issues
Mm.
that were not relevant to the paranormal.
Right.
And I was just kind of like, I don't really know what to do with this
Mm.
other than put this off and get input,
Yeah.
which is what I did. And then I was a terrible human being to her.
Of course you
But
are.
I knew I wasn't going to show up on her doorstep by myself because she was,
No, because you don't know what their state of mind is.
yes,
You don't
well,
know
I
what's going
did.
on. Which is why we have. I mean, I don't know if you guys did it with your team or do. We have them fill out a form first.
Hmm.
Like, okay, you want me to come out there. You want us to come and investigate for you. First step is you fill out this 12-page form.
Hmm.
And it asks everything. We actually got that form. That form originally came from Tabs,
Right.
right? I modified it a little bit for our use, but it asks all kinds of questions about mental health, medications, um, all this personal stuff, right? We keep it confidential. We don't share that
Well,
with
sure, but you
anybody.
need that information.
You do, as well as asking about, well, the haunting and what's going on and specifics, and then we even give them a checklist of, are you experiencing shadow figures, disembodied voices? But it says they can go down that checklist and mark every box that is relevant to what they're experiencing. But we ask for details too,
Well,
And if
sure.
you don't, I tell them right outright, we need this form or we don't come out. If you don't fill out the form, send it back. Then I'll talk to you on the phone.
Hmm.
I'll email with you, but we're not coming out because that's the only thing we asked for.
Yeah.
And some people never fill it out, and oh well, okay, fine, And then
Well,
others, you get it back in 10 minutes because they
yeah.
really want your help,
And
And
that's the
then
key.
we take that form, we review it, then we have our client case manager call them and gather more information, right? Because you're always going to have questions. You get the information from that form, you're going to have more questions, right? But that's how it helps you narrow it down, right? And then I
Right.
think in the end, it makes them feel more comfortable too, because it's like, these people really are serious about trying to
Yes.
help me out.
And they're approaching it professionally.
Yeah, and
Even
if
though
you
we're
do
not,
notice,
it's
there's
not a
this.
profession per se. I mean, I get that.
No,
Nobody's
it
in it.
is. Let's face it, really, it is. You're just not getting
Well,
paid
in
for
some instances, it can be.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't take it that seriously. They
No,
should.
if you're doing client cases, though,
Yeah, you need to be serious.
it's you have to be professional. So
Hmm.
in that way, it's a profession. I mean, you're not getting paid for it, but you have to be
Yeah.
professional about it.
Yeah.
And if you do see there's psychological issues and stuff going on there, and there usually is, let's
Hmm.
face it. But that's sometimes what attracts this paranormal activity too. Um,
Well, yes, it
what you
is.
first do, one of the things I do is like, all right, well, you list all these things that happened to you as a child,
Hmm.
and some of it's pretty bad. And you go, have you ever gone to counseling for it? Oh, no, no, no. I just handle it myself. I'm like, no, I'm 100% honest with them. No, you
Right.
didn't. You buried it. And this is how it's coming out.
Yep.
And this is why this negative stuff is attracted to you because you got all this negativity buried, and they like their eyes like light up and like, I never thought of that. It's like I strongly
Yep.
suggest you go search out and find a psychiatrist, psychologist, whatever, counselor to talk to. I said, there's online ones these days. I said, I can give you information on the online ones, but you've got to go do it yourself, you know? Um, and a lot of times they will, finally,
Yep.
after all those years, and
And that fixes it, right? And I'm
it
gonna,
does in the end. We help them with their haunting, and you watch them slowly fix themselves, because we're not just there one night, investigate and leave and come back
mhm,
and say, okay, here's all your evidence like you see on TV. We're there for sometimes, we're working with them for sometimes a year, maybe more, and you watch them improve. And that's probably the greatest thing of all, because you probably gave more help by really pointing them in the right direction than even help resolving the haunting, because their life turns around. We see it. We see people
that's
go
got to
from
be so
struggling to keep a
gratifying.
job
Yeah.
to finding a job that they love and they're happy with, and they're understanding themselves better, and their life just completely turns around. You know,
I do.
and understanding that they're not. It's what happened to them wasn't. They're not the fault of it. They were a victim. They didn't cause it to happen, right?
But that is
So
where the manipulators who are the predators,
that's what they
um,
make you think, right?
it's it is entirely what they make you think. It's like, oh well, this was all you. This wouldn't have happened if you weren't blah 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 blah.
Right, right,
And
right.
as
That's the
somebody that bought
terminology they use. Yeah.
as somebody who bought into that load of crap for a very long time,
Hmm.
the liberation that comes, because I do have skills
Yeah.
that are
Absolutely.
gifts,
Yeah.
and but until I really sought resolution, and the person that I chose to go and talk to had treated most of the members of my family over time, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So when I went, and he was just like, "You're the only person in your family that's finished this." you know? And I was like, well, I don't need to know who all has been here because I've got a
Right.
pretty keen idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, I'm probably the only person who internalized this to the point that it was crippling to me,
Yeah.
as far as life decisions and stuff like that. So
Right.
I had to find resolution. I had to find closure. I had to find out how to take back what I was doing
Yeah.
in every aspect of my life. And it's really funny because all the activity that had been around me prior to that,
Hmm.
back to what we were talking about,
Yeah. Yeah. The
um,
paranormal activity.
yeah, I got to where it wasn't internalized on me,
Yeah.
and what I could do could help other people where
Yeah.
I hadn't really been able to help myself
Right. Right.
because I was feeling like, oh, it's my fault. This is happening. It's all part of a cycle, and it was part of a cycle,
It is. Yeah.
but it was not my responsibility cycle.
Right. Right.
And
And that's the
so,
difference, right? I mean, that
yeah,
is. Yeah. Yeah. Understanding that is a big thing. You
it
know.
is. And I'm so glad that that's part of what you include with your education as well as your counseling of clients,
Yeah. Yeah.
because that was so life altering. I mean, and you can't get out of that cycle of internalizing the experiences that you're having without doing that.
Right. Right.
So kudos to you, Jack Kenna.
Well, it's funny because they'll tell us to, well, other people told me that, but their friends or whatever, they'll listen to strangers more than they'll listen to family or friends.
Yeah.
And I think the thing about that is they're like, wow, this person I don't even know is seeing this.
Hmm.
Maybe I have been wrong all this time.
That's
Maybe
hard to
maybe I have
admit.
been approaching it wrong all this time.
It's hard to admit
Yeah, and maybe I
because,
do need to go get that. Hey, this person I don't even know is telling me I need to go get help. Maybe I do,
yeah.
and they're not. And it's how you approach them, right? You got to be. You got to.
Well, you can't beat them over the head.
Yeah, yeah. You don't beat
Yeah.
them over the head, but
You're
you just kind of
buddy up
state
and
the obvious.
let me help you with this.
Yeah, yeah. You
Yeah.
state the obvious and say, "Let me try to help you with it." And most people will that we work with will do that. There's some that won't.
Yeah.
And I think in some ways they enjoy being a victim,
They feel like they're supposed to be a victim.
feel like they're supposed to be a victim, but some some I do think like being the victim because it gets them attention.
I was going to say, even bad attention is good
Right,
when you're craving
right,
attention.
right. People feel sorry for them and they like that. And that speaks to another mental health issue, though, as well.
It
You know,
does.
um, so until they get the right kind of help, then, you know, yeah. Because I've had a couple of clients like, oh, yeah, yeah, I've scheduled an appointment. I'm going to go next week. And then follow up 2 weeks later. Well, I had to do this instead, so I had to cancel. But I'm going to reschedule. This goes on for months
Yeah.
to the point where I finally go, look, and they're like, you got to come back. I'm being attacked by this spirit again. I can't help you anymore.
Mm-mm.
I'm sorry. I can't help
You're
you
going to
anymore.
have to help
This
yourself
this,
too.
this will go on for about a year. I'll let it go on for about a year. And it's like,
That's
no,
a
I
long
can't help you
time.
anymore. There's nothing I can do to help you. I can't
Yeah.
keep running back and forth. I have other clients. You're not willing to help yourself. Why should I keep running back and forth if you're not willing to do what I'm telling you need to do to help resolve this? You can't just rely on me to keep coming back. No, I'm not going
Mm-mm.
to do it. I can't. I can't do it. Let's put it that way. I can't keep doing it. You know,
Well, it can become, it could actually become hazardous. I mean, if they're
yeah, it
not
can it
wanting to
can become
take,
that, but
if
it's
they're not
also
wanting to,
like I can't spend all my time helping you
yes,
because that's what happens. They like, ooh, they're gonna keep helping me. Ooh, they're gonna keep coming back. Ooh, they're gonna,
yes,
and
yeah.
that's and you can tell because when you show up, there's a big smile on their face, and like, oh, let's have
Oh,
coffee.
you're
Let's do
back.
this. Yeah, 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 yeah. Let's
Yeah.
have coffee. Let's have this. Oh, I made dinner. Oh, what are we doing? Oh,
We're
yeah,
having a
yeah, yeah,
social moment.
yeah, yeah. They're looking
Yeah.
for that emotional support or whatever, and it's like I can't keep doing this. I have a family. I have other clients.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you what you need to do to help yourself, and you won't do it.
Yeah. Does that
Sorry, we're
ever just, because you are one of the kindest people I know.
yeah.
You're also pretty straightforward. I mean,
I
you
try to
know,
be.
which goes, I feel like that goes hand in hand with being kind because if you're going to blow smoke up my skirt, I'm not going to get anything out of this
Right,
conversation, right?
right, right.
But, it's just, I don't know, it's just so important.
You
You
have to be
know,
honest with
you
it.
have,
If you're doing client work, you've got to be honest with people.
yeah.
And
Well,
that's one thing I've had in my classes. Like, well, how can you be that honest with somebody? Aren't they going to get mad? So typically, no, they don't.
no.
It's how you approach it. And then I teach them a little bit how to approach it. It's like you
Mm-hmm.
don't just yell at them like you're all messed up. No, you don't do that. Jesus, no. Then they will
No,
start.
you don't
You won't start
understand
a
just
fight.
how
Yeah,
bad you have
yeah,
this.
yeah. You will start a fight, but you don't want to approach it that way. It's like how do
Right.
you approach them? I said you sit down with them, you listen to them, and then you say, "Have you ever thought maybe this is why these things keep happening to you? Have you ever spoken to go to?" And that's why I say, you ask them, "Have you ever gone to counseling to talk to somebody about any of this?" And that's when you find out, no, they haven't. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
well, that may be something you really want to do because it will help you, you know. And you can see the light bulb click on. It's like
Yeah.
I never thought, but I was afraid to, and what people might. You don't even have to tell anybody you're going. Just you do it. You go do it.
Yeah.
You know, do it on your own. I said, and
Y-
if you're, because they've got family there with them and stuff, and it's funny because usually the spouse is there or whatever, and they're sitting in the background going, they won't listen to me. In other words, you can say they've told them to, but they won't listen to them. So it's like, yeah, well, my husband said or my wife said, because sometimes it's guys too,
Mm-hmm.
and they should, and I'm like, well, listen to them. They love you, they care about you, they want what's best for you too, and it's gonna help. It's gonna help. They're not telling you to put you down, or make fun of you. They're telling you because they really feel you need to go get help. Oh, okay. Now, next thing you know, they're gone. You know. So it's just funny. But yeah, you got to have that compassion, but you got to be 100% honest too.
Yeah.
I mean,
I had a client.
even with if you want to get into like talking about paranormal evidence, people will
Yes.
show you stuff like look at all these orbs I captured on my phone in my house. It's like,
Dust.
It's dust. You realize that, right?
in dust. It does
Well, what about this one that
flash.
moves this way? It's like it's dust, or that's possibly a bug, or what about these ones I took outside and you can see all these
Oh my
hundreds of
goodness,
orbs.
yes.
As at
I
night,
love
it's
the
like
outdoor ones.
moisture in the air at night, and you're taking it. What was it raining? Doesn't matter. There's always moisture in the air. It's like
Yes.
you know, it, they hate when you're on it. They hate that. But it's like, look, I'm just being honest with you and based on my experience and stuff. That's what you brought me here for. So sometimes they'll show me something that's like, wow, that really is weird. I can't explain that one.
I love those.
And it's
I
like,
do love
yeah,
those.
it is just a photo, but it's odd in that it's not just a round orb floating around. Some type of wispy, moving. You can
Hmm.
tell it's got movement to it, and it's like I don't know. What was the settings on your camera when you took that picture? Was it you know so? But sometimes there's stuff that looks weird. And then there's some people show you stuff that you can tell was from an app.
Oh yeah.
It's like, wow, okay, yeah, that's looks like. And I'll tell them straight out, right? That looks like it's from an app to me. Oh no, no, it was. I'm just telling you. I'm just telling you because I have those apps on my phone so I can look things up
Yeah.
and compare it. And I'm telling you, that's what it looks like. Look, I don't care, whatever, you know. But and then you got to be honest with people, because if you're not doing them any favors,
Mm-mm.
and you're doing yourself a disfavor by pretending with them that yeah, that's real when you know it's not. So what are you trying to accomplish? You're trying to you're trying to review evidence and really help these people, or are you trying to just tell them what they want to hear? You know,
There is a difference.
there is a
What do you think about so many people have these interior cameras now,
yeah,
security cameras,
yeah,
and used to just be nanny cams in the babies' rooms, but it was interesting. This woman that just showed up, and she's my cousin, fourth cousin, and we've never met each other. She lives in South Alabama, but she tagged me in a Facebook post
yeah,
where someone had, they were out of town, there was nobody in the house, and she flipped out because her camera's kicked, right?
yeah,
And it was a woman in silhouette, but flowy, that was just walking across and going into the next room. And from the angle, you could see the movement for a good while,
yeah,
and so it was and so obviously a silhouette,
yeah.
and I just thought that's really defined.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
That's
yeah.
there's the wispiness to
April
it.
had a question up
Yes, I
there.
saw that.
Yeah, yeah. We'll get to you in a second, April. I just didn't
Yeah,
want to. Yeah, but
and
finish up with that. Yeah, yeah. Do you see this really defined? And you can
so
tell it's like somebody's
it
shadow.
was
Yeah,
definitely. And so
yeah,
bear in mind, I just found out that I'm related to some of these people, so I didn't know them.
right.
But she tagged me in this post, and I was like, well, does she look like anybody that y'all know? I mean,
Yeah,
who
yeah,
is
yeah,
that? But come to find out that a woman who had died fairly recently
yeah,
was that's the door in the kitchen, that it was the direction it was coming from was the way that she had always come in.
yeah.
And because I'm like, she has on a cloak or something. Well, she was, I don't know what organization is part of, but they
Okay,
had those.
okay.
And so, I was
Like
just
a
kind of
rogue
like,
type of
it was
cover
like
kind of thing.
it's like a lodge of some kind,
Oh, okay,
and
okay.
the women wore those
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
And so I was just kind of like, oh, well, there you go. Y'all know who she looks like.
yeah,
I could tell what she was wearing. They go
yeah,
together.
yeah,
Bada boom, bada bing.
yeah, yeah,
And they were still out of town. She had just pulled it up on her when the camera kicked on.
yeah.
So I was just kind of like, oh, well, gee, thanks for pulling me in here, Kenna. Her name is Kenna.
Yeah,
But I
yeah,
was just like, this is cool. I appreciate this.
yeah.
But now this is something that I'm going to find interesting with your answer because I get things through the spirit box, but I
Yeah.
am not. Um, it needs to be really clear for me to really think that I've got, or direct,
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
either
it's
a clear
still,
voice or a direct answer.
yeah. Well, it's still electronic voice phenomenon, right?
Yeah,
It's still an EVP. It's just coming through in a different way, right?
right.
It's coming through a spirit box. And the answer to that question, do I accept it? Yes. I mean, that's what I was talking about at the very beginning with Rick. That was a spirit box session that we were doing at that residence when my given name came through, and then Rick McCollum came through. Now, what happens is a lot of time I'll rerun in the recorder while we're doing that because I don't
Hmm.
always catch everything
Yes.
at that moment. Like originally, I thought I heard my given name state, but when I reviewed it, I definitely heard it. Right. So I like to do that. I like to, before I just go with it, unless it's really obvious. And I've had a few things come through the spirit box that are really obvious. I like to just go back and review it because I may have missed it, right? Because of all the chatter and the static, and a word will come through real quick, and then you're like, did that say? Because you can't go back and review it right then, right? I mean,
Mm-mm.
you can't back
No,
up,
I always record.
but I can back up my recorder and listen to it. Um, so I always like to go back to recorder. So yes, I do accept evidence that comes from it when I review it, right? If
Hmm.
it's in the review and it makes sense to what's going on, and maybe we have other activity going on there as well. It's never just one thing either. But so yeah, I mean that's why it's like Rick McCollum came through that spirit box. So what? And I had Rick listen to it and say, "What is this, Rick? What does this sound like?" That's my effing name. Yes, it is, Rick. Great. That was a year ago before I knew you.
Yeah.
What? So yes, I do accept evidence coming from a spirit box. Um, I also had a couple experiences at a couple locations. We were investigating a place up in like a bed and breakfast kind of place up in New Hampshire, and they were having activity up there. And some other group had been there before, and one of my investigators asked the question, "Well, what did you think of?" We know so and so was here before investigating. We knew this individual. She goes, "What do you think of?" And she says his name. What came back through the spirit box loud and clear? Asshole.
Oh my gosh.
Literally, me and Sarah look at each other. That just said yes. That's what it said. When we listened back to the audio later, it definitely said that. There was no missing it though. There was no way to miss
That's
it.
hilarious.
And then we were at.
Well, I have to ask you,
Oh yeah,
was that party an asshole?
not for me to say. I have no problems with the individual personally.
Right.
Maybe they were acting kind of the wrong way when they
Aggressive
were
with the
there. I don't
spirits or
know.
whatever.
They have their moments, don't we all?
We do.
So, but maybe this was the way that spirit felt about it, and there was a spirit there. There was a male spirit there, and I know that for a fact because at night my back was really bothering me, and I got up to, and I couldn't sleep, so I got up to get a couple of my pain pills because I had 3 herniated discs in my back, and I'm like, I stumbled for a minute, and because I just tripped on something or whatever, and I hear this male voice, "Are you okay?" And just me and Sarah are in the room, because there's 2 beds in the room. I'm asleep while she's in the other, and like she's asleep. It ain't her voice,
Yeah.
and I'm like, and so for a moment, I'm like, "What the hell is that?" And I'm thinking to myself, and then I go, "Yeah, I'm okay. It's all right." I went back to bed, but it came from the door. So I thought maybe somebody was behind the door to the room. I didn't know if it was one of the owners that was happening, but it's like you can't be walking by. You have to just come up to the stairs, and it's just the door.
Hmm.
So why would he be standing? But I did open the door and look. There's nobody on the stairway, or on the landing. So I'm like, what the hell was that? But it was
A
loud and clear.
compassionate
It was a loud
spirit.
and clear male voice. "Are you okay?" So it's like, well, he's a nice spirit,
Concerned.
Yeah, yeah, and we kind of think we figured out who it was, which was a guy who used to be a maintenance guy for the place, and he lived in the house, um, and he passed away. And it's like, I think he's still just there
Hmm.
because he was like kind of like one of these vagrant guys. He had no place else to go, but he was a good handyman.
Oh,
So the people
yeah.
who owned the place let him stay and work there. And he always took care of it and took care of everything. So it was like his home. So, and he was really good woodworker, by the way. He had his place. They had him have his own little place down in the basement, and he built his own bed and stuff. Like it was up off the ground. It was like being in a loft,
Oh my
and the
gosh.
woodwork on that thing was incredible. And he built it all himself. It's like holy cow! It's like this is like artisan type work, and it
Yeah.
was. It was not just plywood and blah blah. No, this thing was elaborate, and it was amazing. It's like this guy, but yeah, yeah, yeah. No wonder they kept him on around here. Because he was repairing woodwork and everything. And he's really good at what he did. But he's just he had his issues and stuff like that. But
Everybody does.
yeah, but the people gave him a place to stay and live, and he was happy there. So I think he's still there. I think that's what it is. And they always said he was a kind person, so that would make sense with maybe seeing me trip and it's like, oh,
Yeah.
you okay? You're all right. Well, yeah, I'm
Well,
fine. Yeah. So, but anyways, I'll give you another spirit box thing too. One more.
yes,
We
please.
were at Lizzie Borden house, and they were doing an event there. We were doing an event, and one of our friends at the time, she had been the psychic medium there for like 20 some odd years. Right, she just kind of left that position, but she was back to do an event there, and she's doing a reenactment up in the mother's room who was murdered. With,
Hmm.
and so I had the spirit box going, and so she's doing the reenactment, and our friend is playing Lizzie with the axe, the hatchet, whatever, and the
Oh,
other one was pretending to be the mother, and she just begins to raise. She goes, so Lizzie, she raised the axe and started to come down, and you hear through the spirit box, loud and clear, a female voice, "Die, bitch."
whoa.
And and their friends stop. Everybody in the room stops and goes, "Did that just say die, bitch?" I said, "Yeah, it's what it said," because I was standing right next to it. So it's like, and it was clear. It was loud and clear. It's like,
Wow.
oh, if you think about it, that's probably would have been the last thing she said before she hit her in the back of the head, because she hated her
Yeah.
stepmother, right? So, you know, died.
Even April said, whoa.
But so I came through a spirit box, and 15 people heard it,
Yeah.
and it's like loud and clear, and it made sense to what was going on. So I would
Yeah.
say that's evidence of paranormal activity. Yeah, yeah,
I like using voice recorders, and a
me
lot of
too.
times I
That's
will
that's the
just
biggest
use
thing.
voice recorders.
Yeah, yeah,
And,
and that's what I use mostly is whatever comes off the voice recorders. But go ahead, Kat. I didn't
well,
mean to interrupt you.
I was just going to say, I have a lot of luck with that.
Hmm.
I get the voices, and I'm always surprised because, and I always talk about I have a holy grail to me, which was three different voices in one session.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
one, you know, a guy said something, another guy said something, and then another guy said something, all
Wow.
relevant to the question I asked
Wow.
and
That's
to each
amazing.
other. And I
Wow.
was just like, holy crap.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. You gotta love
never
those
erasing
moments.
that.
Yeah. 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 You gotta love those moments, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just bought another recorder.
Yeah. I do
But,
tell people like when they take the class, I said 90% of what you're gonna get is audio.
hmm yeah,
Everybody's looking for this stuff to light up, and the K2s are good. And it's like
well, that's
ain't gonna happen.
fun.
That ain't gonna happen that often, honestly.
Yeah, but it's fun when it does
It
because you've got
is.
a visual. And if it goes with your audio,
Yes.
then, woo, you have got it.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. That's
you know,
definitely proof. Yeah.
but I found Rick McCollum is a ghost magnet. He really is.
Yeah.
Spirits like him.
He is.
And I think it's because he's such a big lug. They just think he's so, affable and friendly and just a
Yeah.
great guy.
Yeah.
And they would know. I trust spirits a lot more than I trust most living people. But it's so funny because, he gets, like the person calling his name before you ever even knew him.
Right.
Stuff like that happens to him fairly often.
Hmm.
And, it's just the funniest, weirdest thing to be with him when that happens because I'm sitting there, I've got stuff happening. I know when something, whatever,
Right.
and he's just like, I think that there's somebody that we just got this. And the whole time, throughout all of Scotland,
Yeah.
we worked with 3 different teams there. And one of them was TAP's team. It was Scottish
Oh,
Paranormal, Highland
oh yeah. Yeah.
Paranormal, and then Haunted and Horror
Okay.
um, tours. The
Yep.
people that do that are investigators. So we were in all these places, all these really cool, really, resonating with you places.
Right.
And Rick got the experience, probably the experience of a lifetime,
Yeah.
when we were at Balgony Castle. And it was so cool. He made all of it. He didn't make. He asked all of us if we would write our experience relevant to that,
Right.
because it was that extreme.
Yeah.
And he he said, I think I'm done. You know, that's it. I'm
Yeah.
never going to top that.
Yeah.
And the you know the way I closed my piece about it was that that's not true. We're not done, because you know what? Now we know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now we know what they can do,
Yeah.
and we're going to be looking for that
Right.
from now on. We're not done. We're just going to be more, hey, gimme.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
gimme,
More. Yeah.
gimme.
Yeah. More.
But
Yeah. You keep looking for more. Yeah. Yeah. And you're more aware of what they can do and what can happen.
yeah, I
Right.
mean, we know, and this was a relationship based experience.
Yeah.
It was the Laird of the Castle,
Yeah.
but it was still, we all go places where people that we know or loved have passed
Yeah.
or lived or whatever. And to me, it's just so, now I know. I
Yeah.
can't say it any better than that. Now I
Yeah.
know what's possible. And
Yeah.
now that's what I'm going to be looking for.
Yeah. Is
And
that
who knows?
was that one? What was that in his first book?
Me, well, this just happened, but
Oh, okay.
meeting
So
the Laird of Balgony is in the first book.
okay. Yeah.
And because Scottish Paranormal took him over there, the Laird he and the Laird were like runaway horse thieves. They just got along so well.
Yeah.
No,
He was telling me about that.
from the first time they met.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he passed when we were there 2 years ago.
Right. Yeah.
Well,
He
right
told
after
me.
we left.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
he and Rick got the opportunity to say goodbye to each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this was Rick's first time back in Balgony.
Yeah. Yeah. He was telling me that when I was last time I was talking to him. And he was. Yeah. He's. Pretty upset. Well, I don't know if he was upset, but he was pretty depressed about.
Well, sad.
But yeah, and but at the same time, happy that he did get to
Yeah,
know. So it's
exactly.
one of those things, right? At
Well, you're
least
always
I
going to
always
miss
say at
people
least
that
you got
matter.
to have that conversation and get that kind of closeness, and
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, before he did pass away. So
And, you'll get it later.
yeah, yeah, you
So,
get it again.
I mean, we know. I mean, I don't know if we'll always get to interact with the people that mattered to us the most. I'd like to think so.
Yeah,
But it'll
yeah,
probably, the afterlife is probably like, yeah, we got eternity. We'll catch up.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I can look at all the stuff I can see.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But,
yeah.
you
Yeah,
know,
it's a whole different. I think it's a whole different kind of thing over there anyway. On the other side,
yeah,
so it's time has no real meaning.
yeah.
So you know,
What have you experienced that makes you feel like that? Why do you, I mean, I know
what
we
do I
all
feel?
have a
There's probably no
perception of what
real.
it's going to be like.
When you go, it's your soul, right? So you're talking about energy.
Hmm.
So energy really isn't affected by time.
Mm-mm.
It's basically it's immortal, right?
Yeah.
You can't destroy energy. You can't create it. It's there, right? And it's eternal.
Hmm.
So what would time have any meaning to something that's eternal? I mean,
Exactly.
you're eternal. So does 1,000 years seem like a long time? I don't know. I wouldn't think it would, right? Because
Well, I would
time
think if you
passes.
could
It's
move.
relative to your situation. Where time
Yeah.
passes quickly to us because we have a limited amount of time, right? So time flies, as they say, when you're having fun, especially. So
Yeah.
Um, But for somebody who's eternal or something that's eternal, time isn't going to make a difference
Well, I would
because you've
think
got
that
all the time in the universe.
well,
So
I would think that you could probably pass through different phases of time. I
possibly,
mean,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
because
energy can probably pass through time. I would think. Yeah,
because when you have an historic haunting, it's yeah, that spirit hasn't been there ostensibly
right,
for 400 years, for example.
right,
And yet, and they don't always appear to be intelligent hauntings when they're an historic haunting,
right.
but some are. It's
Yeah,
not just an energy signature.
yeah.
Some of them are.
Or are you
Stonto.
connecting with? Are you somehow connecting through time with the past?
Hmm.
I mean, there's
I
been
think that
incidences
happens.
of where that's where it seems to be, just based on, you know, you're trying to have a conversation with them, and they're like, well, "Where are you?" Now that happened on
That's
on a Ghost Hunters show, on one of Taft's
yeah.
shows, where they're like talking to the woman in the thing, and she's like, "Well, I'm here. Where are you?"
Hmm.
So was that a time slip kind of thing where she could hear them and they could hear her, but they're both in different time frames?
Why not?
Exactly. Why
We
not?
don't
Because
know.
we can't explain anything,
Yeah.
everything. You know, physicists like to talk about this stuff now. I know a few, a couple.
Indeed.
I know a couple. Yeah,
Maybe
they
one or
like to
two.
discuss that. Yeah, yeah, they like to discuss that because it could answer some of their questions as well. You know.
They're
Um,
very much into trying to help resolve that issue.
yeah,
And I
because it
find
can
that
resolve
interesting
their
because
own
science.
theoretical issues. That's
Hmm.
why. You
Well,
know,
because
if
science, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And I mean, if what we're doing is creating communication with people in other time slips,
yeah,
or, you know, then that's something that's a big deal.
yeah. I don't think that's
And
true in every single case,
I
but
don't
in
think it's
some
in everyone.
cases, that seems to be what's going on. Yeah, in some
Yeah.
cases, that seems to be what's happening.
I
And
think with
why? Is it the
intelligent haunts,
location? Is
yeah.
it something about the location that allows that to happen? You know, what's there? You know, what type of earthly materials are there that could maybe cause that to happen,
Or the individual.
or the individual?
I mean,
Well, it's probably a combination of multiple things.
well, sure
You
it
know?
is.
Yeah,
But it's
yeah,
fun to look at.
yeah.
You know,
It is.
because,
It is. That's what makes it all interesting, right? Yeah, yeah,
yeah, it's like and I have not been a physical psychic for, I mean, I would never bill myself that way, right?
right, right.
But what happened to me in Scotland twice was was I experienced injuries
Mm,
that two people had had,
mm.
and they were in completely different locations. The first one, there was documentation of what had happened to him in a room behind me
Oh wow.
that I
Okay.
had been in,
Yeah,
and I walked out of it to step, like the rooms were catty corner,
yeah.
and so I stepped in there, and that's when I experienced it. And the other was on a battlefield,
Okay.
and it was an extreme experience relevant to what would have happened to people on that battlefield.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm out.
Yeah.
If this is
Yeah.
what's going to be happening to me in Scotland, we're done here,
Yeah.
right?
You know, it takes so much of
But
that. Yeah.
yeah, because I'm twice was enough.
Yeah.
Once was enough.
Yeah.
I would have been fine without either one.
And it could have been,
But
that's just how that energy connected with it. You know.
it's obviously so.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
this
It
is
doesn't happen every time. It doesn't happen all the time. I've had it happen
well,
to me too.
it
Not
was
to
weird.
that extreme, but like, where you get a pain or whatever, when you find out that, oh, that's what happened to that person. That's how they
Hmm.
died. You know.
Both times that was it. And
Yeah.
the first time was just such a shock that I had no idea what was even happening. Like I put my hand back to see if I was bleeding. I didn't know if I'd hit my head. Maybe I fell. I didn't know what it was
Yeah.
that sudden. And so when I put my hand up and there's no blood and I'm still standing, I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
this is weird. So I had to interrupt our guide, and I just said, "Did anybody die from this?" And she said, "Well, as a matter of fact,
Yeah,
right. We don't want any more of that."
yeah,
But
yeah.
we are we have a really good question from the Bill of Rights Network.
Yep.
And it's, do older spirits understand modern equipment like the Spirit Box, Echo Box 3 app, and so on?
My answer to that is an intelligent spirit can, yes. Yeah, if you're talking about an intelligent haunting, what an intelligent haunting is that's an actual spirit. It's somebody who's still here, right, in spirit form.
A
So they
human.
see everything that happens, right? They typically will know, especially if it's like in a location where there's always people around and things are changing over time. They'll realize there's been a change in technology, right? In the way the world is it works, right? And also, you sit there like when we go in, we always and I tell this to my students: explain the equipment in kind of layman's terms, but explain it. This is a device. This is what it does. This is how you can potentially communicate through it. You know,
Hmm.
and you explain it, and they can try to communicate through it that way. You know, there's some instances. I think it's some devices. Um, they're speaking however they speak because they don't have vocal cords and stuff, but
Hmm.
somehow they're they may not even know that device what it is or how it's working, but they'll when they talk, it gets picked up by that device,
Hmm.
right? Maybe not purposely, but that device is picking it up through the airwaves, through its frequencies and stuff like that. So, but we always do explain when we go in who we are, what we're
Hmm.
there for, what this equipment is, what it does, how it can work. And if you're investigating a place that lots of people have investigated, guess what?
They'll know.
They already know,
Yeah.
right? Because it's a well-known haunted location. A lot of people have been there. They're using this stuff all the time. So now this spirit is aware of what it is and how they can try to communicate with it, right? So, and that's what I've noticed too. Is like if we go in a place that's never been investigated before,
Yeah.
and you go the first time, you explain what you're doing, what's going on. You may not get much. You go back the second time, you get a lot more
Absolutely.
because
And
now they
that's
know who you
fun.
are, what you're
That's
there for.
exciting.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think it's exciting to them because they
It
know who
is.
you are, what you're there for, and that they can try to communicate with it.
Hmm.
So they're like, "Yeah, I want to talk to you this time." So,
I've got this. We're
right.
ready.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But always explain how the devices work and stuff like that. You know.
Well, I've had people, spirits, act like they were terrified of it.
Yeah, yeah.
And,
Well, you
you
will
know,
too. Yeah,
well, like a REM pod,
yeah.
you know, it was
Might
just
seem like
like,
a bomb.
whoa,
It might seem like a
no,
bomb is about to go off. You know.
yes. And, it's just like, what is up with this?
Yeah,
And, you know, I can't remember the verbiage. We got one really funny response when, because I put my hand over it. Because
yeah,
I'm a demonstrator.
yeah. I do too.
I'm
Yeah,
just
I think
like,
it's a good thing. Yeah, I think it's a
look,
good thing.
see, this doesn't hurt. It
Yeah,
doesn't hurt. And it was like, what the heck?
yeah,
Or something along those
yeah,
lines.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But it was just like, no, really,
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah,
fine.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. We've gotten stuff like that. Yeah, but you gotta show how it works.
you do,
We
because,
always
they're
demonstrate it.
not,
I always
most
tell
of the
my
time, they're
students
not the
demonstrate it.
spirit.
Show them how it works. You know.
Yeah. And, it's just part of being courteous, I think.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
can't throw something down and say, here, perform for me. And
yeah,
not,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know, you can't, you have to build a relationship
Yeah.
even if it's that one time.
Yeah.
Just
I never,
say,
I never thought of it until just now. We were talking about it. It's like you talk about the REM pod and how scary it should be. And we should tell them this is a gambling device, and if you can make it go off,
ta da!
ta-da, you'll get something for it. You'll win the prize. You know?
You better have a prize if you're going to do that,
Yeah,
because
yeah. Throw some
somebody's going to be
coins
coming
out. Yeah,
after
yeah.
you.
Have some quarters come out of it or something. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's
Put
it might.
tobacco over to the side.
Yeah,
We
they
got a
might.
smoke here for you if you can do
Yeah,
this.
yeah. They might coordinate it with that, maybe. But you know,
That's, well, just about every era knows tobacco
yes,
in some
yes,
whatever form or fashion that they used it. They know what
yeah,
tobacco is, and
absolutely.
so I've always found, and spirits, alcohol spirits.
Yeah.
And unless you're in a teetotal and Southern Baptist town, and that does not work. So,
Yeah, you got to go by the
yeah,
the
you get
audience,
called
right?
names.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
You got
I
to
get
know
called names a
you got
lot.
to know your audience, so to
You do.
speak, right?
I did not, and it was
Break
so
out a
funny.
Bible.
Yeah,
Start
but
doing some prayers.
it's really funny because I do get called names a lot
Yeah,
when I'm doing this, and I'm like, I'm sweet and Southern. What are you doing?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
I used to let it bother me, and now it's just kind of like, psh, whatever.
yeah, yeah.
People have done better than that. You can do better than that.
That's right. Yeah,
So, but
that's
it's
how you got to. That's how you got to do. You got to take it. You just yeah,
you have to.
take it for what it is, and whatever.
Like,
You
we're the way I look at it is that a lot of times they probably feel like we're intruding if they're
yeah,
in a location, especially a location that doesn't see a lot of people.
yeah,
Well, that's their home,
yeah.
and
That's right.
that's their home because
That's
they're
right.
who's there.
That's right.
So I really feel like sometimes they feel like I'm, or whoever, all of us, we're just intruding and busting into their space. And I
Yeah,
think that's why it's so important to be polite.
yeah, yeah. And
Um,
I let them know that I've been invited to come
hmm
here by
yeah,
the people who currently own it or live there, and they just want to find out who they are
yeah,
and more about them. That's what I'm there for, is find out about them and you introduce yourself, and you know hopefully they'll want to talk to you, and you tell them that, say hopefully you'll talk to us, and it's just us trying to find out who you are and why you're here.
hmm
You
and if
know,
there's anything that we can do for you,
yeah. If there's anything, I never usually don't say that. I'll say if there's anything that you'd like people to know,
oh, that's better. I like
you
that.
can tell us, and we'll let them know. Because there's really not much I can necessarily do for them, unless you get to, like, if you find out they do want help, and then it's going to take a long time because you got to go back and you got to find out, well, what do you want help with?
hmm
And you're not going to figure that out in one night,
No,
typically.
you're really not.
No. And do you want help crossing over? Do you want just prayer? Do you want your story told? What kind of help do you want? And in fact, I just covered this in um, my psychic abilities course that
Yeah.
my class talked me into giving. So like it took me about a year and a half to figure it out. Part of that was asking them what do you want to know, because it's kind of really a personal journey. So what do
It
you want
is.
to know? But I was able to give them some things and teach them some things about how to try to connect with your abilities and stuff like that. But anyways, you want to try to find out from that spirit what do they really want, right?
Yeah,
And we just covered that too, about people want to help cross people's spirits over, and my first question is, should you?
you should ask.
Because they want to be,
Yeah, because not
because I know
everybody
there's some
does.
people who feel that's just what needs to be done, and it's like, well, if it doesn't want to cross over, you're probably not going to make it anyway.
Well,
So,
you're not
you
going to
know,
make it, and you're going to create an adversarial relationship.
right, right. So you've got to spend the time trying to figure out what they want. If they do say they want help, all right, what kind of help do you want? Right. So you've got to committed to spending time to figure that out.
Yeah.
You know, okay, that could take a couple months or more. If I keep going back. So yeah, you got to make those choices. So that's why I just rather ask them: is there something you
Like
want
to
to know?
say.
Yeah, something you want to say that's important to you. Whether it's like, I don't like what you did with the house, or whatever it is, right?
What were you
Yeah.
thinking with
What
that
were you
shade of
thinking? Those
green?
colors are awful.
Yes. Funny
Uh,
that we both went to the colors. We must have had the same similar experiences
yeah, yeah,
with
yeah,
houses.
yeah, yeah, yeah. What did you
But
do this for? Yeah.
yeah,
Well, if you think about
it's
your own house, that's usually what it comes down to. Oh, the color of those walls. Oh my god. Not what I would do. But,
right. Not what I did when it was mine.
I wouldn't paint my
Yes.
room black, but some people will. You
Some
know.
people do.
Yeah, yeah, they do. Sometimes it
So,
fits, sometimes it really doesn't. But
well, it
uh,
depends on, yeah, a
yeah.
lot of
So
different
there's all
things.
that. There's all that.
Yeah, I do want to give a shout out because Krista Sageray, whose name it took me 3 shows to learn how to say appropriately, was in chat a little while ago and was
Okay.
very complimentary and love you, Chris. Miss ya. So he ate sushi with me for his first time
Oh, is that
when
right?
he and
Yeah.
Michael Lewis came through Birmingham. So
Oh, cool. Cool.
we have.
Sushi.
He thinks that you're great.
Oh, well,
So,
thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm not a
but
big sushi fan. There's a little bit of it I like, but I'm not a big
I
sushi.
like
Never
I
was.
like one kind of raw roll, and then everything else I like baked. So,
Okay. All right. Yeah, I
but
was never a raw fish fan anyway.
he did it though. I was so
I,
impressed
I
with
have
him.
to. I have to. There's some salmon stuff that I
I
like.
like salmon.
Yeah, that was good. Um, but not too much of it. I'm not just. It's just not my thing. That's okay. Everybody
But
has
he
their
was
own
brave
thing.
and strong. I'll give him credit.
Yeah. You got to try it. Even I tried it. A couple times actually. So
Well,
you got to try it.
and
To see.
he was so brave and so strong, and he actually didn't die, so it was a good thing
Gotcha.
because I think there was some question in his mind about that. So, and April said she loves sushi too. But something. April is. I feel like she's psychic. She is
Yeah.
the cousin of a really good friend of mine, and over time we've become friends through the shows.
Yeah.
And um, she has never done an investigation. All
Oh.
of the things that have happened around her have come to her,
Okay.
which to me is very cool.
Yeah. Yeah. That
And
is. Yeah.
because I don't, stuff shows up, but I don't always know what it is, and I'm not a natural psychic.
Right.
I don't feel like, but I do have knowing, but it's not like, oh well, that's Joe Blow sitting over there in my corner, and he wants to have the, I don't do that.
Right.
But April can know a lot, but um, she says all of her experiences come to her,
Hmm.
or she runs through them, not looking for them. But she
Right.
said her problem is that she can feel spirits, but almost never hears them. She's more
Yeah.
likely to dream about them and get their messages that way.
Right.
And
Right.
I do a lot of dream, not as much as I used to. I think it's got an old age or hormonal kind of thing, whatever. Because everything really started kicking. Well, when I was a kid, it was
Right.
natural, and when I became an adolescent, it was very random, wild, strong
Oh. Okay.
interaction. And then, but I had a lot of emotional abuse type
Right. Well, it
scenarios at
makes
that
sense.
period.
That makes
So,
sense then. Makes
yeah.
100% sense then.
And my telekinetic stuff worked then too,
Yeah.
which was very weird. I didn't intend to do things, but they
No, it's
happened.
because of the chaotic energy you had going on.
Yes. There, and I was so chaotic. But,
That's why that
the,
started happening too, by the way.
yeah,
That's why you started PKing.
yeah. But don't do that anymore
Right.
unless,
No, because you're much more calmer now. Yeah.
yes. Well,
That's what it's about. It's about chaotic energy. A lot of it.
in a crisis, it will sometimes, like, I will break something that I shouldn't have been able to break or whatever.
Right.
But, but it's just really, thank you, Raymond. Raymond said,
Thanks,
have an
Raymond.
outstanding night.
Yep.
But
You
it's
too, Raymond.
really so fascinating. How many cases, well, and now that I've gone through another hormonal change, which
Yeah.
my husband thankfully survived, it's really been,
I laugh because I understand.
I know, right?
I
Because you too have survived those. But
don't know if I
let's,
did.
well, so far you're all good.
I'm alive,
You are alive.
but I'm not married anymore.
True that. So sort of you survived.
Yeah.
But it's really wild because it's very similar to when I was young,
Yeah.
even though it's a lessening as opposed to the building. So the physiology of that fascinates me.
Well,
You
remember
know,
too, when you're younger,
just
you
as,
have a lot more energy too.
by God.
I mean,
Certainly I
it's just a
did.
natural thing. We have a lot more energy when we're younger than when we're older. So that's
Yes.
why it lessens. Part of it's that's why it lessens. The other part of it is you understand it a lot better now,
Yes.
you know, and to some point you can gain some control over it, right?
Right.
So, because you may when it starts to happen, you may realize it's starting to happen and be like, oh, okay, I'll just back off a little bit.
I'm just going to
Yeah,
have to step away for a minute.
yeah,
And,
yeah.
it's funny because when I was kind of in middle of the stream,
Hmm.
when my kids were still in school,
Yeah,
um, if there was an injustice or a perceived injustice,
yeah,
I was like, rawr,
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
rawr. And
absolutely.
I mean, because I have a 2-year-old granddaughter, and that's how we dinosaur each other. So sorry
Yeah,
about the
yeah, yeah. No, I
dinosaur
get it. I
pause.
totally get it. I totally
But
get
it
it.
was the same thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
so a lot of what, and that's when I realized, even, you know, if there's a human in the household who is in one of those phases,
Yeah.
then that's who I go and talk to
Okay.
when, you know,
Yeah.
um, because I had a case. Well, it was my team's case. It wasn't just mine at that point.
Right. Right.
There was a woman who, when she walked out of the house, it was a normal energy level.
Okay.
When she walked into the house, it was 7.2.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, it was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and a friend of mine had developed the TAPS app with Jason. And
Oh.
so
Okay. Yeah.
I sent him a message and I was like, look, I am in a case right now and I'm in the house and this is happening and I need to know, is there anything in this app that is going to trigger this huge jump? And he was like, well, they were actually at an event at the Estes Hotel
Okay.
and Jason was there. So Rick went and asked Jason, and Jason said, well, you know, a TENS unit or a pacemaker or, you know, those type things would be relevant to the body, to
Right.
the human. So I went and I said, well, do you happen to have nothing? She didn't have anything. And I'm like, I'm going home. I'm just, this woman is so chaotic, so off the charts,
Yeah.
and I sure enough did get a attachment that night.
Mm.
But it was from somebody that was doing Reiki on that woman and didn't know how to and was slinging out instead of slinging to the ground.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, I am so going to beat you.
Mm.
I felt it when it hit me. I was like, I didn't even know what it was. I turned around and saw him. So stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
But before he gets it on everybody. But, you don't think about energy really being something that happens with. I
Sure. Sure.
hadn't.
I do. Yeah. Yeah.
And, so because I was
I mean,
doing
I guess I
Reiki,
always did
but
because I work in engineering,
yeah,
and
but
it's and and when you're talking about electrical energy and stuff like that and different devices, yeah, that stuff can affect people all the time. Especially when
yeah,
you get into higher voltages and things like that. You can feel that stuff radiating out. So it's
yes,
no different. It's really no different than that type of stuff because you're still just talking about energy. You're just flinging this energy around. It's going to affect anybody nearby.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it felt like a prickly pear. Those little
Yeah.
balls
Yeah.
that fall
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the fall.
Yeah.
Sweet gum
It's a
balls are what
static
we call them
charge.
here.
Yeah. It's a
Yeah.
static charge.
And oh, I was
It's that
so
static electricity you're feeling.
it
Yeah.
was and it was stuck.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
So I went home and called somebody that does.
Yeah.
And
Or either that or
yeah.
blow up a balloon and rub it on yourself and attach it to the balloon. Just kidding.
What? I'm like, I know that you're
Static
smoking
charge.
crack,
Yeah, yeah,
Jack.
static charge. Yeah. Get the static charge off of you and onto the balloon, and just let it go.
Yeah. That would have been a good idea. But, it hadn't
I'm
occurred to
only
me
kidding,
really.
people. Don't take that
No,
seriously.
do not. Do not go and do that.
You could try it, I suppose, but I don't know.
Well, I would not want to be in a position where I needed to try that again because that
Yeah,
hurt.
yeah,
But, and it was a physical sensation. It really did hurt
yes,
when,
yeah, it does. Yeah, yeah,
so not doing that again
yeah, yeah, yeah. Or
on
well,
purpose.
how are you with your putting up your protection when you're doing stuff like that now?
How am I doing it or how am
Well,
I?
how do you? I mean, do you like if you're sitting around a situation like that where you're there where somebody's doing Reiki on somebody else? Do you put up any protection for yourself?
If
Or
I know they're doing it, I absolutely
yeah, yeah, that's
do.
what I'm talking about. Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
that's the key. You need to know what's
Yeah, it's one of
happening.
the first things I teach my students too, even just for the paranormal
Yes.
101 class, is spiritual protection
Yes.
and putting that up anytime you go anywhere, you know,
Yeah.
until you at least, I mean, get some experience with investigating, because as an
Yes.
investigator, you really don't want to go in with too much protection
Well, you
initially.
need to know what's there.
You need, when you can sense it, that's when you want to be able to just put your
Yeah.
protection in place immediately,
Yes.
or carry different things on you, different stones
I
and stuff
usually
on you
carry
for
amulets of
protection.
some type.
Yeah, yeah, because they'll help initially to give you some time to get
Yeah.
your other protection up, like white light, or some people envision
Well,
the white light around them, so others envision a brick wall around them, or being inside a brick
I just
room,
I
no
just build a
windows.
shield.
Yeah, you can
I
do
mean,
that. There's all different things you can do. So
yeah.
it's all a matter of visualization.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and but I'd always tell them, anytime you're going in someplace, we teach them a white light technique because it's one of
Hmm.
the simplest. Then they can go from there. And
And it's so easy.
it
I
is.
mean,
Yeah.
the visual is if you can get
For most people, it is.
the
Some people have a hard
visualization
time
works.
visualizing, so
Yes.
it's just right brain versus left brain, and you know. So we work through them with it, and we have them just keep working on it.
Hmm.
Uh, and April, I see, asked, does that work for intrusive thoughts too? Yes, absolutely. It works at
Yes.
work. You ever get somebody come around you and they get this, they like that energy vampire, just they
Yes.
sit there, talk to you, talk to you, talk to you, and they're like draining you. You can put up that protection and it'll stop.
Hmm.
And what I noticed too is when you do that, they seem to get like annoyed and they walk away
Yeah.
because they're not getting anything from you. They're not getting that energy that they're trying to drain from you. They don't realize they're doing it. Number one, understand that.
But it does turn them right off.
It does. It does seem to turn them off without even
Yeah.
them knowing why. You know,
Yes.
and it's like, because you're just sitting there listening. Going, well, I got to get going. All right, okay, all right.
See ya.
It works. I've had
Yeah.
people in my class. I said, yeah, it'll work. It'll work for that type of energy too. Yeah, it'll work with people. Go ahead, try it, and they do,
And
and it's like, wow,
yes.
that I actually did that at work, and it worked. That person who always comes by and bugs me. They left like within a couple minutes. Usually there for a half hour.
I hadn't really thought about that, but that
Oh,
is what
sure.
they're after.
It is. It is.
So
But they don't even know it.
no, they
The
don't.
thing
But
of
I
it is,
mean,
they
they're
don't
just
realize. Yeah,
in your
yeah,
face, kind of like, and they're
yeah. It's like they can almost sense that wall is up,
yes.
and they're not going to get what they're looking for in whatever sense that is, and they just go to the next person.
Hmm.
Yeah, they're like, it really worked. I said, yeah, I told you it was. I've used it at work for years. That's how I know. So,
Well,
so in regards to April's question, yes, it can block intrusive thoughts too. Yeah, because you're just putting up that energy protection to block out anything negative,
hmm
whether it's intrusive thoughts or whether it's just negative energy, or somebody's just being negative in general, or they're just draining your energy. Yeah, yeah.
well,
I'm reading
it
what
is.
April's wrote there.
It's
Uh,
really it's really helpful for her.
yeah, 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 and it can work with that, April. I mean, I have a son who has autism, and when he was younger, um, his energy could be extremely chaotic, and he'd have extreme behavior sometimes, and we would do that, and it would actually even seem to help calm him down. So yeah, I'd use that white light energy, and actually even put it onto him,
Yes.
and it would, like, you hold them, if you need to, because sometimes they need that sensory stuff to calm them, with autistic children. But you can project it too, and try to project that white light around them, and that actually seems to help calm them down without them knowing why.
That's a great use of that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can use it for a lot of things. I mean, you can, and it's just a matter of practicing with it. And if you're doing it for the first time, it's probably not going to work. But you got to keep practicing with it, right?
Well, I will
Practice
say
projecting that energy out onto others, and it's a positive energy. You're
yes.
projecting a positive energy, just like people who project negative energy has a negative impact on you. You project positive energy, it'll have positive impact on others.
That's a great point. You know, the only time I've ever really tried to project my protection was when I had a child living in New York.
Okay.
And I woke up at, well, about 3 my time, 4 her time.
Yeah.
And when I woke up, it was just like, pray now.
Yeah.
Cover her, pray now, send your energy,
Yeah.
you know, just, and it was immediate. And I was tripping out, but I'm like, okay, let's do this.
Right.
And so about 20 minutes, it lasted about 20 minutes, which is a long time to be kind of in a panic like that.
Right.
But all of a sudden, it was like, okay, you're good.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. Yeah.
what am I going to do? I can't go back to sleep right now. And then I'm out,
Yeah. Now I'm up. Yeah.
So, but I did. I mean, I had peace. I went right back to sleep.
Well, good.
And, and I never mentioned it to her until a couple of years ago. And this has been some time.
Yeah.
And so I was like, the strangest thing happened when you lived in New York. And she was like, oh my gosh. She said, I was walking home from the train
Yeah.
with my friend, and a carload of guys started following us, and they turned down the street
Mm.
where her apartment was.
Yeah.
And we weren't going to make it to the door before they got to us. And then all of a sudden, they just drove on.
Mm.
And I said, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank your
Yeah.
guardian angel, because
Yeah.
your guardian angel came and got me.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
But,
Something else
I
changed
mean,
their minds. Yeah.
that's really the only time that I have felt like, do this now.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have shielded when somebody was with me,
Yeah.
in an environment or something,
Right.
but
Yeah.
to actually project like that was the first time I'd ever had to do that,
Right.
or felt
Right.
like I had to do that.
Right. Yeah.
So,
And that. Yeah. That's what.
but it
Yeah.
worked.
Yeah. Yeah. It does. Yeah.
So,
Absolutely does. It's because you got to remember when we're talking about this white light, and it's a white light of your faith.
yeah,
I tell people that it's about faith. It's not just a white light.
no,
It's
it's
the light of
powerful.
your faith. Yeah. So I always tell them you have to have faith in something. And we're not necessarily talking about religion. We're talking about you know faith in whatever you believe in. That's
Hmm.
positive, right?
Yeah,
There's some people who go, well, I just believe myself. Well, that's not
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 really a lot of
really.
power there.
Yeah. 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 Okay. You can believe in yourself, but
Well, you
think
can
of
believe
something
in
higher. I
yourself.
don't care if a higher
Yeah,
power, the universe, the whatever you want to think about, something that's
yeah.
a higher power than your own. You know, um, um, so mine is
Well,
Jesus Christ. So
yeah,
that's
mine
that's where
too.
my faith comes from. You
But
know,
there's different things that everybody has something.
yeah, everybody has a different belief, right?
And
And that's
I
okay.
mean, there is something,
Yeah,
and if you have strength, then you have to believe that the strength that you carry comes from somewhere.
right, right.
And that's where you seek help.
Yes,
So, it's, I would like to have the calmness of the Buddhist.
yeah,
I don't always, but I am a Christ follower, but I also see the value in other faiths
absolutely. Yeah,
as
yeah,
well.
yeah,
And I try to never belittle that,
right.
because um, there was a Geshe, a Buddhist priest, who had come from India and
Hmm.
was in the Eastern Shore Tibetan Society as their teacher for a long time down in South Alabama. And I mean, he was completely open. The energy that flows from people of all faiths when they're strong and they're positive is so cool.
Yeah,
And it's just kind of like, maybe they call it something else. I don't know, but I
yeah,
use my faith to protect my children a lot.
yeah,
So, and my husband,
yeah,
and even
yeah.
my dogs.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, well,
So,
yeah, you can use it on anything.
it's good
Yeah,
for
yeah,
everything.
yeah. It is. It is. As long as you truly believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. As long as you truly, and that's what I tell them. You got to truly believe in. It. Says, so, what do you believe in? You see the blank looks I should get when I ask that question. What?
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. You wouldn't believe how many people have no faith in or no belief in anything.
How do they get up in the morning?
I don't know. I believe myself. Yeah, okay. It's only going to get you so far. What do you really believe in? And you find out what you make them do is start to think,
Mm-hmm.
and you do find out they actually do believe it. They find out for themselves they actually do believe in something.
Yeah.
They just have to find it. They just have to figure it out. There's got to be something you believe in. And usually they do, and they just say in general, God. Okay, that's
That's a
okay.
start.
That's a
Yeah.
start. Yeah, you believe in God, so you believe in something that is higher than you, that created you. Okay, that's it. I don't care. That's all you need, as long as it's positive.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want you to believe in Satanism. That's not. That's
Well,
not coming from
I'm,
positive. That's
I
not
do
coming
bel
from a
I do
positive
believe
direction.
in Satanism because I've known people that practiced
Yeah.
it, and it is not my color Kool-Aid.
Well, my point is
But
to them
yeah, I
that
do.
you don't
Yeah.
want to follow that. That is a
That.
belief. You don't
Yeah.
want to necessarily follow it because it's not coming really from a positive direction.
Exactly.
I said you want to believe in something positive. That's
Well,
not
to
really a
fight
positive
negative, you have
direction.
to be a positive.
Yeah,
And when, I mean, like I said, when that happened to me, it was the wee hours of the morning, and I was cross-eyed.
yeah,
I'm like, why
yeah,
am I awake?
yeah.
And the answer was just right there.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I think that's what people find is, I don't want to say a lot of people today have lost their faith. They've forgotten their faith. They've forgotten it because they're so busy with other things. They've just forgotten it. It's
Joshua, who
there.
said, "Hi, sorry, just joined us," and he said, "But it's okay to not believe as well. It's a free country. It is a free
It
country,
is. It is. We're not
and
saying you
that's
have
totally
to. Yeah, well,
it is
I would say you have to believe in something
something.
positive. I mean, we're not saying a religion or anything. You just have to have a
No, not
positive belief in
specific.
something if you're going to work within the paranormal. Because you have to say create some kind of spiritual protection,
You
Joshua.
do need protection.
Yeah, yeah, and that's all we're talking about. We're not
Yeah,
saying if you can choose not to. I have friends of mine work in the paranormal field that they don't. A lot of times they'll end up with attachments. That's okay. Yeah. All right. If you
cosmos
believe
and
in the
stars are
cosmos
good.
and the stars, that's something greater than yourself. Absolutely.
Yeah,
And there is energy and power there. So that's perfectly fine. And that's all I tell people. Find something that you connect with.
and but it is personal.
Yes, and it
I
has
mean, and I mean, I'm sorry. I am, you know, cosmos and stars. I am a sky watcher. I I am that girl that's out in the hammock, and I am, if there's any kind of convergence happening, I'm out there.
yeah,
I just
yeah,
love that.
yeah,
But I also view that from a Christ perspective,
yeah.
and that was created so that we can enjoy and learn from that.
Right.
But that's different people have different ways of looking at things, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No, there's not. That's what I'm saying. There's nothing wrong.
Yeah.
I just tell people. I don't tell them what to believe in. I tell them find something to believe.
Find something.
You know,
Yeah.
and like I said, most people I find out they've just forgotten what they believed in because they get too caught up in the world today, too caught up in the
Mm-hmm.
minutia. And
There's so much of it.
they've forgotten what they believed in. So you make them think about it, and they're like, "Oh, well, I really do believe this." Some like Joshua there, they believe in a God force,
Mm-hmm.
which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Right? It's something greater than yourself, right? That maybe created you, right?
Well,
And
I mean,
created the
yes.
universe and the cosmos and all that, and that's great. I have my own personal beliefs. You have your personal beliefs. Everybody has their own personal beliefs. Some don't have any though, is what I find out, or they've forgotten what they believe in. Because I do get that blank look a lot of times. What do you believe in? "Well, what do you believe in?
I believe I'll have another drink. I've gotten
I believe
that
I have another
text.
drink. Yeah, sometimes I have thrown that out in
I've
class.
gotten
It's
that.
like, do you believe you'll have another drink? And they laugh. You know.
Yeah.
We have some fun. We joke about it too. But they get it in the end, and they realize, okay, I said, if you don't believe in anything, there are some earthly related things you can use for carry around for protection. White quartz, black tourmaline, tiger's eye. These are all natural elements, right? that do
And
carry energy and give
yes,
off energy.
and
So
I do
that
want
will
to
give you
say
some protection as well.
Joshua also said that his mom will be 77 on the 7th.
Hmm.
I will also be turning older on the 7th, so happy birthday to your mom. And she was rushed to the hospital, so he's praying to his God force.
Yeah,
And I will also pray for your mom.
yeah, yeah. We definitely will.
So, because I hope that she is turning 77 on the 7th. I would
Yeah,
love to share a birthday with her.
yeah, yeah.
So,
We'll definitely say prayers for her. Yeah,
but that's one of the beauties of what we do, Jack,
yeah,
is that all people are welcome to it.
yeah.
There's no dividing principle that prevents anybody from experiencing and learning. And, you don't ask people what their belief system is before they sign up for your class, right?
No, I just ask them if they have one once they get into the class.
Well, that's because you're
Yeah,
trying to protect
yeah.
them.
Well, yeah, because it's about again, it's that question comes up because we start to talk about spiritual protection.
Hmm.
Because when you're investigating the paranormal, you don't know what you're dealing with.
Ever
Right.
until you
One of the
get in there.
scariest things in the paranormal, I was asked that one time on one of the shows, what scares you the most about the paranormal? It's because you never know what you're talking to.
Nope.
It can pretend to be something else, and you really don't know until you get into it. You can figure it out eventually,
Oh,
but
sure.
initially you don't know what you're talking to. So it could
As
be
they
anything.
will.
It can be anything from a human spirit to an elemental spirit to something demonic. You just don't know. And that's why you need to have spiritual protection to protect you from ending up with an attachment of some kind. Even a human spirit can be a negative type of individual.
Well, that's true. People don't really realize that, I don't think.
Yeah. And that's what the protection is about preventing you from getting an attachment or from, you know, being I don't want to say possessed, but you don't want to end up with a demonic type attachment that will put you through hell, literally. You know,
Hmm.
try to destroy your life, destroy your family,
Destroy
destroy
you.
you. You know, so you don't want to end up with things like that.
Not
So and
even.
even just a simple spirit attachment, you really don't because it's chaotic. You know, and it's
Are
draining. It
they
drains your
always?
energy. Yeah, yeah, pretty much because the reason you have that attachment, a negative attachment anyway, is because it's trying to drain your energy from you. You know, it wants something from you, so it's gonna try to take that energy from you, or just I can cause chaos at this individual's home, you know, or for this individual. You can have I just had this discussion with somebody. Somebody was saying, well, you can have a positive attachment. And I don't like to think of it that way, but I guess you can have a positive attachment, and that you can have a spirit guide, you can have a guardian angel. I tend to think of that in a little bit different term rather than attachment. I
I
like to
wouldn't.
say
Yeah, I
that's a
wouldn't consider that
connection.
a
Yeah,
attachment.
yeah, but they're not wrong. It's whether you call it a connection or an attachment, it's basically the same thing, right? It's attached to you for a positive reason. Okay, so I learned to like, all right, I'll rethink my thoughts on that, and all right, I guess you could have a positive attachment. I'd rather call it a positive connection, positive spirit connection. I think connection has a more uh, positive, let's say
Positive
positive term
connotation
to
than
it.
attachment.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
Attachment sounds
agree.
to be more negative, but
Well,
yeah, yeah, the
maybe because
terminology
of
is basically the same. Yeah,
maybe because of what we bring to it, from our history.
yeah, I think so.
Maybe
I
for
think
the
so.
average person, it might not be such a strong
Anytime you're
thing.
talking, you hear somebody in the paranormal talking about attachment, they're not talking about something positive.
No, it's never a good thing.
Yeah, we just
So,
refer to the others as, oh, that's my spirit guide, or that's my. You
right.
don't refer to it as an attachment, but in a way, it is. I mean, actually, it is. It's attached
Actually,
to
it's part
you.
of you. Yeah.
Yeah, so it is attached to you but for positive reasons. You know, to try to help you, to try to guide you, to try to. Yeah, that's why I like the term connection, though.
Me too.
Connected to. It's
Me
not
too.
attachment; it's connected to. But that's just my own bias, I guess. Word bias, right? So
Well, everybody has their own biases.
yeah,
It's just the way we roll.
yeah, right.
And I do want to say to Joshua in our chat, where he said, for whatever reason, he felt compelled to listen tonight or to watch. And I'm so glad that you were here. And thank you for my happy birthday. So, and he had a car accident that caused him
Oh,
to believe in an afterlife. And he
no,
saw his past brother above his windshield telling him to stay for his mom, who
oh,
is in trouble right now.
yeah,
So,
yeah. Well, see,
things,
that goes to show you there is some higher power out there.
there's some direction.
Yeah, yeah,
And,
yeah.
you know,
Your brother came to you because he's able to, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
very, very interesting and very
yeah,
cool. And I'm glad, Joshua,
yeah, absolutely.
that you said it.
That's a pretty amazing story too. That's a significant story, especially
Well,
to him personally. You know,
absolutely.
yeah, and things like that can change your life. Yeah, yeah, they can
Well,
change
they
your total
certainly,
outlook.
well, they can change the trajectory of what you're
That
going to be
too. Yeah,
doing with the rest
yeah,
of your time.
yeah. That's absolutely
You
right.
know,
Right,
we hear all the time about these people having deathbed personality changes,
hmm,
and they come back and they're
right.
like, la, doing all these wondrous things, and
Yeah,
even to the physicality
yeah,
changes, and the physical skill sets.
yeah.
And do you feel like all of that is kind of there's a correlation between what we do as investigators and experiencers versus what the human capabilities are? That it's not always just ghosts or whatever, but sometimes people are actually going through a transformation process.
Yeah, I'm really giving thought to what you're asking me there,
Yeah.
and I think I think I'm following you, and yeah, because it's not always about a haunting. It's sometimes about an internal struggle for the individual. Is that what you're kind of getting at?
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and they're dealing with some internal things that are creating external um, phenomenon.
Hmm.
Let's say, all right, and I would say yes. Yeah, yeah. It's sometimes it turns out that, and in most cases, really, it turns out that that's why a haunting is occurring. It's because of the internal change, struggle, whatever you want to call it, of the
Right.
individual who's experiencing the haunting. And it goes back to what I think what we talked about before, because it's some hauntings are attracted by that energy, and sometimes you're creating the haunting
Hmm.
with your energy. You can create negative thought forms,
Yeah.
okay, which can take on their own life, right? They can become actual hauntings, right? Just because of the long term exposure of that energy, right? So it becomes self aware, let's put it that way, and begins begins haunting that person, causing issues, causing problems,
Yes.
because it's made of negative energy. There's also, you can also have a positive one too. Right? There's positive thought forms by people who live in constant, like, no, the constant, but they're always happy, they're always positive towards people and stuff like that, and that energy manifests around them, and it
Yeah.
becomes almost like a guardian angel,
That's true.
you know. So you can have that too, and that affects other people, right, who are around them. So same as a negative haunting affects people around them too, right? People are experiencing that.
Yeah.
Um, and yes, I have had. Matter of fact, I just had a skeptic in my class. I love when I have that. And I don't try to convince them of anything. I just saw that, but I think I kind of answered the other question there for you.
I think
Yeah,
that you did, and I appreciate that.
I don't want to get off track there, but yeah, I've had skeptics in my classes. Yeah, I love when I have them because I say, like, just keep an open mind. That's all I tell them. Just keep an open mind. I said, I'm not going to try to convince you of anything. That's not what this class is about. It's about teaching
Yeah.
people with the 101 class, about teaching people that it's not just about investigating, it's about spiritual protection. What are you investigating? One of the first questions I ask them is, we get into different types of hauntings and different types of spirits, and then I'll ask them, well, what do you think a ghost is? Yeah, that's the look I get. Huh?
Yeah.
The eyebrows go up, and it's like, what do you think? What do you think a ghost is? everybody's just like, it's an energy. Well, yeah, okay, it's energy. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You're right. It's energy. I said, does anybody here believe they have a soul? You see hands all go up. So we're talking about human soul in most cases. I said there is the other things too, which aren't human. They're inhuman or they're elemental, and those are created by God as well, or the higher power, whatever you want to call it. But we're talking mostly about hauntings. About it's a ghost is a human soul, and so treat them as such. Talk to them as a person. Show respect.
Hmm.
That's because also too you don't know what you're talking to.
That's right.
Maybe it could be the other
Don't
thing.
tick it off.
Yeah, it could be the other thing, and you just don't want to do anything to piss it off or make
Exactly.
it come after you. Although some things already have the intention to do that anyway. But if
Well,
you
and if
stay
you're,
positive and you stay, it makes it more difficult for them to get attached to you, to get because
yes.
you're actually putting out a stronger energy, and they're looking for the negative things are looking for the weakest link. So if you're putting off a positive energy, I think it's hard for them to attach to you.
And sometimes that's why people who are suffering depression um,
Yeah,
have problems with that.
yeah, yeah,
And sometimes they feed each other.
yeah, yeah. That's right. That's right. That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. So, but yeah, skeptics are always good to have. I just say keep an open mind. And usually by the end, they all thank me for the class. I'm like, no, I actually because I do an investigation in all my classes. I think that's important. You can't just teach them
Sure, it
from the
is.
book. You have to have that investigation portion, and they go and they may not experience anything at the time, but they're listening back to their audio or they're watching their video, and they get that spirit voice come through, and they're like, oh, I was actually there. It was just me and the other person. There's no third voice there. And then whose
That's
is it?
so cool.
Then whose is it?
I
And that's when
love
they
when I
begin
get,
to like. It just opened my eyes a little bit. They may not still totally believe you, but they can't explain it.
right.
So now it's giving them something to think about.
But isn't that, I mean, I'm
And they
sorry.
experienced it for themselves. That's the thing,
Yes.
you know.
And, I've been an investigator for, well, since God was a child, but, I've done paranormal experience, that show for 10 years. I've been
Yeah,
doing this and listening to people for a long time.
yeah,
And I still, if I capture an EVP, if I have something on video, I am like a kid in a candy shop. It is a celebration. It is so much fun. And I am
yeah,
Snoopy dancing inside because something interacted with me, right?
yeah, yeah.
And I think it's cool
It is. Yeah,
because they trust you enough to give you themselves,
yeah. To
to
actually
let
have
you know.
actually respond to you, to try to
Yeah,
have a conversation with you. Yeah,
yeah.
they're trying.
They
You
are
know,
trying.
and it's hard because it's two different realms, really.
Hmm.
And how do you bridge those realms? We don't totally
without
know that.
without giving full access.
Yeah,
They don't get
well,
full access.
even if you wanted
But
to, I don't know if you can.
yeah, I don't know.
There's it's two distinctly different realms. I mean, it's the physical and the non-physical, and
Yeah.
how do you cross that divide completely?
When you have two spiritual individuals, two spiritual beings who are trying to communicate,
Yeah,
so maybe using the tools, if both of us are wanting to do that, maybe that energy coming together works that way.
yeah. I think that's well.
Something makes it work.
That is how you get the evidence and get the responses and things like that. But you still can't have a direct, full on conversation like we're at.
No, you
No,
can't. I
and
can't.
I think you can't. I think there is a way that does happen sometimes, and that's through your dreams in the subconscious when you're more open, right? And you can sometimes you have one of these realistic. You call it a dream, but it's like it's really happening, and you'll be
Hmm.
having a conversation with someone. And
Yeah,
I think that's where that takes place. It's on the spiritual. Again, it goes back to it's on the spiritual level.
it is.
Soul talking to soul, right? Because when
Yeah.
you're asleep, it's just who you are that's out there. It's not your physical form.
Mm-mm.
It's
It's
your
your
mind.
essence.
It's your soul
Yeah.
disconnected. Yeah, from your physical form. So you're able to maybe have that conversation. You know, if they're willing, if they come to you though, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
And,
different.
you
Yeah,
know, it's always a gift.
it is. It is. Yeah, and they usually give a
So,
very short conversation. It's usually a family member that has something to tell you, and then they're gone. Yeah, it's like
well,
because
and Jen,
you wake up with that feeling. I want them to come back.
yes,
That's
I
how you
wasn't
know
through. I wasn't
it's not
through.
just a dream. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
It was actually happening.
Yeah.
You know, because you're like, you get that sadness because you wanted them to come back to be able to talk to them again, and it
Want to
doesn't
finish
happen.
that conversation.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they finished it and they're done.
They're done.
They're they
But I
said,
wasn't through.
yeah, but I wasn't
Yeah.
yet. Yeah,
I
we'll
had
talk. We'll talk
questions.
more when it's your time.
Yes. Well, you know, that's what's so funny is because every time that we get that interaction, it's such a gift because
Yeah,
they are coming to give it to us.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah,
I always
absolutely.
do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I had one of those just not too long ago. So
Oh,
but I've learned
good.
to just accept them for like, oh, okay, well, thanks for that. Yeah, it's information. Yeah, and just be happy with it. You know,
Yeah.
you know.
And we're not,
Don't wake up wanting more
yeah.
because you're not gonna
Just
get it anyway.
be glad that you had it. And you
You
know,
had it.
we're not
Yeah, you
talking
had it.
mediumship. I
And
mean,
like I said, if you have
this
real
is
faith and you have real belief, you know you'll get to talk to them again.
yes.
When your time comes, you pass on. You'll be able to see them and talk to them again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's a
you
positive
know,
side of that.
I never and truly I never ask for family spirits. I just don't. I mean, I
No, they
figure
come to you. No,
they are.
that's why I said they usually come when you're asleep
Hmm.
because you're not looking for them. You're not asking for and yeah, when you're investigating, I never ask for them. No,
Never.
no,
That's not my place.
no. If they have
And
something to say, they'll come through anyway on their own.
yeah. Well, I had a medium friend who I was talking to one day, and I was like, you know, my dad's here all the time. She said, I know. I said, well, he doesn't really do anything or, you know, let me be aware of him. She said, it's because you don't ask, he says. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to ask. you
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think there's some places that you don't cross.
Right,
You
right.
know,
I agree
it's
with
not
that.
my place to ask.
That's right.
So,
Yeah, I
yeah,
ask and I don't necessarily ask, but I'll pray for them. You know,
always.
and maybe talk to them while I'm praying.
I talk
Yeah,
to them,
yeah,
but
and then
that's,
then that's a different kind of connection. Then if they want to talk to you, they'll come back. They'll come to you. You know,
yeah,
again in that dream, they'll come to you in that dream. Which is really just it's a vision. It's not really a dream.
yeah,
You're having a vision. So it's just interesting stuff. I mean, this is this is the complexity of the paranormal, right? Of the spiritual world that we investigate. And this is why hauntings get complicated.
yeah.
And trying to help people with hauntings gets complicated because it's not as simple as what you see on TV. TV is TV.
It is not.
TV is
And
entertainment, people. Remember that.
yes,
I'll
well,
tell you
I'll
that
tell
first
you,
time.
I was watching a paranormal show last night, and I don't generally watch them unless they're older ones
Yeah,
or people I know. I watch the ones with people I know too.
yeah, yeah.
But you know, I was watching it and I don't even know where they were, but there was so much interaction
Oh,
between the people of the show that it would have been really hard to get interaction with anything else. And I'm
oh,
like,
I got you. Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
you have to leave space for who you're trying to communicate with.
Yeah,
So,
instead of just each other. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
because we can talk when we go home, right?
Yeah.
But
That's right.
it
Yeah.
was so
What are we here
funny.
for? Yeah, we're supposed to
Yeah.
here to investigate. We're just talking to each other. Okay. I
But
mean,
it was,
sometimes you get activity when you're doing that.
you
You know.
do.
You know.
Sometimes, I mean, I've gotten EVPs like mad when I was having a conversation with someone else.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like joining
Yeah.
around the water cooler, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly like that.
Yeah. Yeah. They don't want to be spoken. And sometimes you figure that it's like they don't want to be spoken to. they just want to like
Yeah.
listen to what you're talking about and then jump in.
Yeah.
I've seen that a lot. It's like when you try to talk to them directly, you get no responses. When you sit there just talking about other types of investigations you've done and other types of locations, all of a sudden things start happening. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, that's interesting.
And
You
if you
know?
go back and listen to your voice recorder,
Yeah, that's
they
good.
were
That's what I'm saying.
there was
Yep.
more input than you thought.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's what
So,
you find that out. That's for sure. Yeah.
yeah. That's why I love the voice recorders. You know,
Oh yeah.
I use camcorders also, and
Yep.
a lot of times I love it when they correlate.
Yeah.
And it's just like, ooh, yeah.
Well, it's the only thing I'll take as real, and usually real evidence is it's a combination of either personal experience and get an EVP, or something on video and you get the EVP, or you got two recorders that one picks it up and one doesn't,
Hmm.
and they're both in the same room.
And that's fun.
I've had ones in the other room. I've had ones like a room away, and you catch an EVP on there responding to the people in the other room where you hear nothing.
Get out of town.
Yep.
I have not had
I've
that
had
happen.
I've had my investigators talking and asking questions in one room, and there's a response and recorder a room away or two rooms away.
I have not had that happen that I'm
I've
aware
had
of.
it
That's
happen
cool.
many times, which is really weird because
That
they're the
is
only
really
ones up
weird.
in that. Well, they might be the only ones, on that level. There's nobody else up there, you know, on the second
That's
floor or something
weird.
like that. It's just really weird, and it's like, well, they did respond. They were over there.
You were just in the wrong spot, but
Yeah.
they heard you.
I've had recorded, and one of them's on. If you go to spiritsinwinland.org, there's an EVP there where it's me and the other investigators caught on the recorder, and we heard it. So it's a disembodied sound. It's some really weird sound, but at the exact same moment on a recorder two rooms down, you can hear it as a woman's voice. You can't tell exactly what she's saying, but you can hear her talking. But the other one is like a whoop, 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 and it's really loud. And the other recorder two rooms down, you can hear a woman talking I tied them together. It's the exact same moment.
That is so cool. I'll go back and listen to that.
Yeah.
And for
It's
anybody
really
listening that
weird.
missed
That's
it,
one of the weirdest things I've ever caught. It's like,
Spirits
oh,
of New
wait,
England
.org. Yeah,
.org.
yeah, yeah.
So,
I think it's under one of our evidence page. I don't think it's on the top page. I think it's on the evidence page.
so just go check the whole page out and check out Jack Kenna's website too, because that one is also pretty amazing.
Yeah,
So that is,
jackkiller.org as well, and
yes.
you can check out the stuff I'm doing and what I'm working on, and yeah, or just find me on Facebook. I'll be honest, I don't spend much time on there anymore, but
He's a
I'm
little
there and
busy.
I do post stuff on there, and I talk about the classes and stuff on there too. So, and you can just look up my name. I think it's uh, facebook.com/jackny45. I think that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for being here. We are
Always
so
a
out of
pleasure.
time. I have had every bit of it was fun.
Absolutely.
So,
Always a good time.
and for everyone listening, if you have any questions, like we said, jackkenna.org, he is really, really easy to talk to. He'll get you answers. He'll ask him questions. He is
Yeah.
like
Just
one
reach
of my
out.
favorite sources for things.
Yeah. My email's right
So,
on there.
namaste to you too, Joshua. But, it is so cool that we can have these conversations and also that we can have these chat conversations because I love that.
Yeah.
I love when people are so connected to what you're bringing, Jack, that they're comfortable with putting stuff out there.
Well, we don't always talk about the usual stuff, do we?
We we never do. It's been a while since we've done this. We can't wait
It's
this
been a
long
long
again.
time. It has been a long time. I haven't been
Yeah,
doing too much of this. I've been focusing mostly on the teaching. So,
yeah.
yeah. I figured once you asked me, it's time to do something again. You're the first show I've been on in a really long time, to be
Well,
honest with you.
thank you for coming.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Kat.
Yes. Well, anytime because you know what? I like you.
I
We're
like you
friends.
too. Well, we're friends, right? We've been friends for a long time.
We have.
Me, you, and
So
Rick. We'll get you in there again, Rick. Oh,
we are. Can I? I
Kat.
can hear it now. Say it. Say it.
Yeah,
But
Kat.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
So, and thank you to everyone listening. Y'all are the reason that we do this, and we appreciate you. Thanks for taking your time out of your night, and we'll be back next week, same cat time, same cat channel. And namaste, be blessed, have a great week. Good night.